Business Link Alberta acknowledges and respects that we are on traditional land, meeting grounds, territories, gathering places, and traveling routes of Treaty 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10, and the home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge the lands of those who have come before us, reside here now, and in the future. Welcome again to Solve the Right Problem, How Customers Decide to Hire You. If you have ever felt unsure about why customers choose one business over another, struggle to explain what really makes your business different, or wonder why your marketing is not connecting the way you hope, you are absolutely in the right place today. Today's session will help you look at your business through your customers' eyes and understand what problem they're truly hiring you to solve. My name is Linda Posada, and I'm the event specialist here at Business Link Alberta. If this is your first time joining a Business Link webinar, welcome. Business Link Alberta is a government-funded nonprofit that helps small businesses in the province start, grow, and thrive. We offer free one-on-one support, market research, training, and resources to entrepreneurs at any stage of their journey. Now, I am very excited to introduce today's speaker, Colin Christensen. Colin is a serial entrepreneur and mentor who has supported more than 2,000 founders and helped launch hundreds of businesses across industries. He is known for helping entrepreneurs move from ideas to momentum quickly and brings deep experience in positioning, growth, and customer decision making. Today, Colin will walk us through the jobs to be done framework and show us how customers actually decide to hire your business, and he will share practical ways to sharpen your messaging, clarify your positioning, and solve the right problem for your customers. We're super excited to have you here with us today, Colin. I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Linda. I appreciate it a lot, and it's nice to be here. The first thing I'm going to actually do. Um, can I put this out to everyone? Okay, yes, there we go. I just loaded two links for two documents that will be helpful. One of them we're going to cover in a little. The second one we're going to cover in a little bit more detail, but the first one is more just for your own kind of understanding and help as you build and look at your entrepreneurs. So I would encourage you to click on those and download them. There's a whole boatload of resources in and around that space that you could use, but these two are ones that will really help you. So I'll present my screen and we'll dive right into it. And we're going to cover off a lot of information. So, it is interactive. So, and I'm hoping I can see some of your reactions. Whether it's, I just got to make sure my chat is open. There we go. So I can see your chats as you come up. I see some thumbs coming up, so that's a good sign. But you might have to, can people unmute, Linda?
We can allow them to unmute if
Okay.
you want them to.
Okay. Well, let's see how it goes. You'll see that it'll be really obvious. The first thing I'm going to ask is a couple of questions, but before I move off this screen, please notice the quote. So if you don't know who Peter Drucker is, Peter Drucker is considered the grandfather of business, and he was talking about social enterprise in the 40s even. This guy is one of the best business minds that ever existed. But I love how he says this. The purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer.
Mhm.
That's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get right into it and start working through some things. So first question I have, and you can show me by one or several hands coming up, whatever you want to do. Is there anybody seeking capital, like some kind of investment into their business from a bank, from a friend, from a mom, things like that, and or anybody who's having trouble attracting great or more great, many more great customers? Anybody? Hands up. I hear a couple of pops. Yep. All
I
right.
do
Good.
see
Good.
the comments. It's
Okay.
perfect.
It seems often that in the mode of building business, these two things are obviously radically important. But not everybody's raising capital, but more customers, better customers, things like that. This is absolutely a thing that most people want. So what's interesting about this is that both when it really comes to funders, because a lot of people are concerned about raising capital, even if you're going to a bank. What's really interesting is the funders are also excited for that as much as for the same reason the customers are, which is that you actually are solving a painful problem for the customer and that you become the go-to expert. So even with a customer, they're coming to you because you know this problem better than anybody. the problem, not the solution. It's really important. And this is what we're going to start to get through our minds here. We talk so much about a solution as an entrepreneur, and it's the wrong angle. It's not about us and what we have. It's more about understanding what they need and what they're trying to do. And this is why this idea of hiring comes in. Oh, actually, give me one sec. While you're doing that, I meant to turn this on too. Very quickly, I'm just going to jump into this because I want to. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Ah, actually, I'm going to go back here. Sorry, I remembered one of the things is I have a little YouTube link that I want to open up, and it's really important to have it kind of ready because it
Mm,
tends to be a little bit more difficult.
no worries. Take your time.
So, uh, so I'm just going to let it kind of play a little bit in the background here uh, quietly.
No
Okay,
worries.
fill in the blank. Okay, so you got some answers there on that. Do we see the answers or we'll see that later on?
We can actually see the answers right now. We
Yeah,
have a few here.
let's pull
It's
some of that up just so I can get an idea of who's in the room and what we're talking about.
absolutely. So the answers that some of the answers I have here are customers hire my business when they want to solve their problem, repair their vehicle, make sure that they have safety cover at work, when they want to improve their health or well-being, or when they want additional storage, safety, and increase home value. These are amazing answers. We have more than 35.
Awesome. Well, very good. Okay, so let's look at this a little bit more. The whole point is, like I said, is we've got to shift our focus away from our solutions and our features and our stuff like that, and look much more at the problem that the founders or sorry your customers are having. And
Mhm.
so what I mean by that is the first things first is there's this age old thing called the hero story, the hero's journey. Some of you are familiar with it. Star Wars was written on it. Harry Potter was written on it. All of these things are this model that we're very, very familiar with. But in the hero story, there is a hero. And the first thing I want to understand is that you are not the hero. As the entrepreneur, we kind of tend to make ourselves the hero. Like we're going to come in and we're going to rescue you. But that's not the point. The point is the
Mhm.
customer is the hero. They're on their own journey. They're doing their own thing. They are the hero. Okay, we do have a role, but I want first and foremost that our client is the hero and they have a problem. And this is what we're going to talk about. They have a job to be done. They're looking for somebody to help them with that job to be done. And it's broken into three areas: functional, which is the actual thing that they're doing, and I'm going to go more detailed on this. Social, how they feel they look to others because of this problem and getting it solved. And emotional, how they feel about themselves because of the problem. And I'm going to go, like I said, go into more details on that later. But then they meet a guide. That's where you come in. You are Yoda, right? You are Hagrid. You are Dumbledore, right? You are the one that is helping them. You are Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? You are the one that is helping them, the guide that helps them be the best hero they can be. And typically, we give them a plan. Then they get called. We call them to action, right, as the guide, and they choose to be transformed. Sometimes they say, "Nah, I'm going to keep doing it the way I do it," and they either follow your plan, and say, "Yeah, I'll take that," and they're transformed, or they don't follow the plan and they fail. So that's actually what happens in the hero story, and we get to participate in that. Our clients are the hero. We are the guide. Keep that in mind. So uh, if you get good at articulating why the customer hires you, right, through both functional, social, and emotional aspects of it, you win. This is the thing that I don't think most people get when they're trying to build customers and when they're trying to explain themselves to an investor or a funder. They're not getting what they need from the investors aren't hearing it because they want to hear how you articulate the problem that you're solving, not the solution, the problem that you're solving. Sorry, I'm just going back here so I can do this. course, and then I've got phones ringing, everything. But I will say this, if you can articulate this right out of the gate, you're 90% better than most of the people who can't. And this is, I hear it all the time. I'll come to this in a second, and I think it might be next. Yeah. I only say all of this, and this is a bit of a splash screen. But I say all this is because I just want to recognize that I have done everything wrong. You name it, right? I've started 15 companies and I have four I'm running right now. I've made every mistake in the book. And one of the biggest things that I've made is this idea of coming up with the cool features and all the amazing things that my solution does, and nobody cares. The hero wants to solve a problem, and you're there to help them do that. I share this because there's my nerdy family. My hope is that I can help a billion entrepreneurs avoid needless failure. I've done a bunch of stuff, sold a bunch of businesses, had a bunch of successes. But what's really important is I'm trying to talk to you as if somebody, I've done this 100 times over 40 some odd years. Can we just turn it around and allow you to learn this in 60 minutes? That's what I'm hoping for. So let's avoid some of those needless failures, and hopefully some of the things I have are going to cover that. Okay. First thing, who the heck has milkshakes at 7 a.m.? But I want to share a video with you, and this is what I was trying to do. I wanted to do this. I just let it play in the background so it becomes live. And am I sharing with sound? I want to make sure that people can actually see the sound or hear the sound.
We can't hear the sound just yet. We're still seeing your
Oh,
slide.
okay. Hold on. Yeah,
No
of
worries.
course. I'm going to just rewind this. Give me a second. I know where it's supposed to start, so and I'll drag it into the screen here, but hopefully you can I hope you can hear it is what I really want.
Mhm.
Where's the bigger screen? Oh, there it is. Okay, let's see if you can hear this.
We've thought of it so far
Mhm.
is that we actually hire products to do things for us. And understanding what job we have to do in our lives for which we would hire a product is really the key to cracking this problem of motivating customers to buy what we're offering. So I wanted just to tell you a story about a project we did for one of the big fast food restaurants. They were trying to boost up the sales of their milkshakes. They had just studied this problem up the gazoo. They brought in customers who fit the profile of the quintessential milkshake consumer. They'd give them samples and ask, could you tell us how we can improve our milkshakes so you buy more of them? Do you want it chocolatey or cheaper, chunky or chewier? They get very clear feedback. They would then improve the milkshake on those dimensions, and it had no impact on sales or profits whatsoever. So one of our colleagues went in with a different question on his mind, and that was, I wonder what job arises in people's lives that cause them to come to this restaurant to hire a milkshake. So we stood in a restaurant for 18 hours one day and just took very careful data. What time did they buy these milkshakes? What were they wearing? Were they alone? Did they buy other food with it? Did they eat it in the restaurant or drive off with it? It turned out that nearly half of the milkshakes were sold before 8 o'clock in the morning. The people who bought them were always alone. It was the only thing they bought, and they all got in the car and drove off with it. So to figure out what job they were trying to hire it to do, we came back the next day and stood outside the restaurant so we could confront these folks as they left milkshake in hand. And in language that they could understand, we essentially asked, excuse me, please, but I got to sort this puzzle out. What job were you trying to do for yourself that caused you to come here and hire that milkshake? And they'd struggle to answer, so we'd then help them by asking other questions like, well, think about the last time you were in the same situation, needing to get the same job done, but you didn't come here to hire a milkshake. What did you hire? And then as we put all of their answers together, it became clear that they all had the same job to do in the morning, and that is they had a long and boring drive to work. And they just needed something to do while they drove to keep the commute interesting. One hand had to be on the wheel, but somebody had given them another hand, and there wasn't anything in it. And they just needed something to do while they drove. They weren't hungry yet, but they knew they'd be hungry by 10 o'clock. So they also wanted something that would just put down there and stay for the morning. Good question. What do I hire when I do this job? I'd never framed the question that way before, but last Friday I hired a banana to do the job. Take my word for it, never hire bananas. They're gone in 3 minutes. You're hungry by 7:30. If you promise not to tell my wife, I probably hire donuts twice a week, but they don't do it well either. They're gone fast. They crumb all over my clothes. They get my fingers gooey. Sometimes I hire bagels, but as you know, they're so dry and tasteless. Then I have to steer the car with my knees while I'm putting jam on them. And then if the phone rings, we've got a crisis. I remember I hired a Snickers bar once, but I felt so guilty. I've never hired Snickers again. Let me tell you, when I come here and hire this milkshake, it is so viscous that it easily takes me 20 minutes to suck it up that thin little straw. Who cares what the ingredients are? I don't. All I know is I'm full all morning and it fits right here in my cup holder. Well, it turns out that the milkshake does the job better than any of the competitors, which in the customer's minds are not Burger King milkshakes, but it's bananas, donuts, bagels, Snickers bars, coffee, and so on. But I hope you can see how, if you understand the job, how to improve the product becomes just obvious.
So that's, to me, a very important mindset and a bit of a shift there. So it's not about the features, like who thought a milkshake would be selling at 7 a.m., but it's the job that they wanted it to do that made the difference. Okay?
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
So think of it this way. Your customer is a hiring manager. They're trying to hire somebody to do a job for them, right? Whether it's a spreadsheet or whether it's something that gets away from spreadsheets because they're too complicated. There's lots of ways to look at this, but you need to understand that the customer is looking to hire somebody to do something for them, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for the outcome. So in the jobs to be done framework, there's three major elements, and they're really, really, really important because we often as entrepreneurs are trying to come up with a solution, and so we often answer the functional thing, right? And let's use an example. I like the example of my glasses. I hired these glasses to do a job. Linda, it looks like, doesn't need glasses, so maybe she has contacts on, but that's a different job,
Maybe.
right? But
Yeah.
some people don't need glasses, so they're not in the market for glasses. You're not going to sell them glasses. But
Mm-hmm.
I need glasses. So functionally, I bought these glasses. But that's not why I bought these glasses. If you think about it, social was a more, and emotional really are the two bigger reasons that I bought glasses. Socially says, what does my glasses say to you about me? I could get big Elton John, funky looking glasses. I could get a monocle. That would be pretty cool, right? There's
Yeah.
different ways that I can solve my problem. The problem
Mm-hmm.
is I need glasses. That's the functional one. But the social one is, what story do I tell to you about me? Buy my glasses, right? And different types of glasses would say different things. And then more importantly, even than that, is emotionally. How do I feel about myself, right? When I look in the mirror with my glasses on, you're a smart, good looking guy, right? That's hopefully what's coming out of it. I need to feel confident about my glasses and I need to be able to see, right? The moment I can't see because my prescription changed, I need to go hire another set of glasses. But there's the outcome is the functional, but the social and emotional are the more important aspects of it. So it's really important that we understand those aspects when we're looking at how we're solving a problem for our customers.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does it look like? Now, I want some feedback. I want you to put some answers into the chat. Who's the biggest competitor for Netflix? If you actually know the answer to this, don't necessarily put it in there. Okay, Disney, Facebook. Yes, it is being recorded, Roger. YouTube, Amazon Prime Video. Okay, people's phones. Okay, Karen, I like that. Real people. Good job. Paramount. Okay, Disney, Paramount Movies. Go outside and read a book. So some of you are starting to get this.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you see where I'm going with this, right? What did a lot of people say? A lot of people said direct competitors, Disney, Paramount, YouTube, things like that. But some of you started to get into other areas, like going outside. Yes, the biggest competitor to Netflix is Fortnite. So the question is, why? Why? Why is Fortnite a competitor to Netflix? And really what it is it's a competitor of time or a competitor of something to do. Going outside and reading a book is absolutely a competitor to Netflix, right? Going and hanging out with other people, competing for attention. Exactly, Karen, right? This is why I want to do this. Let's do it again. Let's do another version. Coffee. Why does somebody hire coffee? I got one right here. I mean, and it's black right on top of it. So it's literally just hot. Actually, I like iced coffee, so this is iced, but hot, bitter bean water. Why do people hire it? right? So good, right? Is that the comment on the topic or that coffee is really good? Convenience. Okay, there's more. What else? Why do people yeah, paradox and meditation, right? Why do people hire coffee? Comfort, right? Stay awake, energy. Okay, those are the common ones. Think outside the box. Why does Starbucks exist? Why does that funny looking latte thing in the top corner look like? Uh, Ritual, love that, right? Habit, affordable luxury,
Status.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
even just that time to sit down and read a book and have something in your hand, a warm, comfy cup of coffee. I hope I didn't lose you all. You're all running to the kitchen to get your coffee now, right? And certainly a demographic. You're right. Think functionally, right? Not everybody drinks coffee. I didn't drink coffee until I was like 40, right? And so it was so yes, demographically, some people just don't drink coffee, so they're not even in that. But some people will drink a McDonald's coffee, and some people won't settle for anything. I won't go to Starbucks, for example. I hate Starbucks. I go to the really nerdy, ultra roasty, supremely careful beans, right? So you've got to be able to look at this in a way. That's the social and emotional aspects of coffee, not just the functional, right?
Remember to support local.
What's that?
Remember to support local.
Yes,
Local food.
exactly. Well, I mean, there's not a lot of people growing coffee locally, so
This is true.
right. But I have a chocolate business, by the way, and so I can't grow cacao here either. So, but yes, finding local suppliers and local roasters, beautiful. Some of my favorites, Colombian, love Colombian. They're great people. Anyways, okay. So let's do it again. I want your feedback. I want your ideas on this. Selling mattresses. You are selling mattresses. Your job, you have a business that sells mattresses. Who are your competitors?
Hmm.
Okay. David, right out of the gate. I love it. Yeah. TV. Yeah. Uh, Movies. Tempo. Okay. Yeah. Coach stress. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Good. Right. Yeah. Wayfair. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Getting it. Futon couch. Okay. You guys are learning some lessons here. That's just good. So the first thing, let's do it this way. What is the job to be done if you're selling mattresses? Why are people hiring you? Nice. Okay. I love that one. Exercise. Yes, that's good. Okay. Yeah. Helping people sleep. Good sleep. Thank you. Margaret, perfect. That's exactly where I'm going. Feel better? Yeah, for sure. Get sleep? I think so. A better sleep experience? Love it. So, this is exactly right. So, now let's break it into a couple of different sides. There are direct and indirect competitors. Okay, so who's direct competitors, right? Direct competitors might be other spring manufacturer, spring based mattresses. That's assuming that you're selling that. Other ones might be foam, those male, you get your mattress in a box and then it explodes in your face when you cut the plastic, right? Sleep Country, right? So this is an idea. So there's direct competitors. There's those competitors that are selling mattresses. Sure, you're competing against them and you can describe it in a better way. We're going to give you a better sleep. Isn't that what they all say? Right? We're going to give you a better sleep. But then there's indirect, and I appreciate that. So somebody said melatonin, right? That's another one. Oluremi, I love that, right? Adult toys, right? That's a competitor for a better sleep. I'm not going to go
Hmm.
into that too far, but if you think about it, what's going to give you a better sleep? If sleep is actually your outcome, then mattresses is one way to do it, but there are other things that will get you there. And so you're competing for other people's time in indirect competitors. And so things like sleeping pills or melatonin or adult toys that will help you sleep better, or even somebody else said, exercise to get a better sleep or relaxation. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So, but just remember, you're not just, trying to wave your hands in front of other people that are potentially buying mattresses. You're trying to get people's attention because you're offering a better sleep. So, what are your competitors and where might you do? I'm going to have a story about that in a second. So, what happens, I find, with most entrepreneurs is they're selling this. It's cool carbon board, titanium hardware, hollow trucks. This is the stuff you're doing. You're telling me all the features. But really, what they're doing is they're hiring this. They're hiring the experience that they get from it. They're hiring it to do something fun. This is the difference that you're looking for. So don't sell the features and the benefits and all the things, sell the outcome.
Experience.
So think about this, right? It's not about the thing, but the outcome. It's not about the what, but the why, right? Simon Sinek had a video on that a long time ago. So, but we're not buying your app, your service, your widget, your thing. We're not buying that. What we're doing is we're hiring it to have a specific outcome, a job to be done in my business or in my life. Right? We often describe and do things like this. This is what we think the customer wants, all these features and all these cool stuff and all that stuff. But we only have so much money, so we build that thing in the middle. It's a little bit of a broken down, smaller version of it, but it's that. But really, all the customer wants is they want to go over a ramp in a bike. Right? So we oversell because we miss the outcome. So please make sure that we actually are addressing and understanding the problem. And this is real examples. This is real examples of problems gone wrong. Somebody came out with a smart water bottle. It's got sensors for hydration and an app to sync the data and Bluetooth and GPS. Guess what? Nobody bought it. Nobody cared, right? Nobody cared. It wasn't about the features. Contrast that with Slack. So Slack, communication platform, right? Functionally, they wanted to communicate faster. Socially, it's modern and efficient, and everybody can kind of get into it. Emotionally, I feel more connected and in control of my team if I'm running Slack. This sold clearly. We have a lot of successful versions of people using Slack, right? So feature based versus outcome based. Feature-based, outcome-based. We've got to understand the biggest. And then on top of that, this is where we're going to get into one of these worksheets. Even before this, by the way, I encourage you to download two things. One is a customer profile worksheet or customer persona worksheet, and the other one is the jobs to be done one. We're going to get into the jobs to be done one. You can work on the customer persona worksheet and fill a lot of this out. And by the way, for those that know, kudos to Tash Jeffries. Okay, a lot of you know who Mama Tash is. She's a wonderful and amazing woman, a friend of mine, and we've worked together in the past. And I took her stuff and turned it into this with her approval and her recommendation, and so she can have the sheet as well. But that's what the customer persona worksheet is. But it gets into the thinking of the functional, social, and emotional, and the different reasons that your customer is making decisions. But now we're going to do the next one, which is the jobs to be done worksheet. So this is what this is. There is currently an old way that people do stuff, and you're trying to present a new way of doing it. There's an old way of doing it, what they're currently doing now, and a new way of doing it. And I want you to understand that status quo will kill you more than any competitor will. What I mean by that is a customer won't change doing what they're doing until something really makes a significant difference. And this is the way to measure it. So you got your customer in the middle there, and they're looking at the old way and a new way. What happens is there's often a push. Like sometimes, let's face it, let's think of something, anything in your own life that you're looking at maybe a new version of, or a new product for, or trying to find an answer for. Right? Maybe even your own product, and you can think about that and put it in here on the worksheet. But there is a push away from the old way. I hate the old way. It doesn't work. Spreadsheets suck. They're complicated. They're confusing. They're hard to work with. I don't understand Excel, right? So that's the old way. So there's a frustration and a push away from the old way. And there might be even a pull towards the new way. Ooh, an app that makes it update automatically, and the spreadsheet is always kept up to date, and it always just works, and I can just talk to it and it'll tell me how to work it all out. That's really cool, right? So you get excited. Yeah, exactly. Power BI. You get excited about the new way. But then those are the positives. So there's a frustration with the old way and an attraction, a pull towards the new way. But then you have the negatives. What if it doesn't work? What if it's too expensive? What if I can't get it in my language? What if I can't get it in my country? All these things that come up, there's anxiety that goes with that new way. What if it just doesn't do what I want it to do? What if it doesn't perform the way I want it to do? Do I make all this money and didn't invest that I invested and now I've lost it? So you've got to look at the anxiety around your new way, your new possibility that you're given. And worse is the habits that they already have. We've always done it this way. It's too difficult to try to get it integrated into my company, into my habits, into my way of doing it. So that push and pull has to be significantly bigger than the minuses of the anxiety and the habits that they already have. Without this power dynamic, this equation working properly, nobody moves. There's a reason people keep doing the same stupid thing over and over again, right? I'll give you another example. Uh, the document? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I wasn't sure what trouble they were having. So I'll give you another example. If we did what we were supposed to do, we'd all be millionaires and have six-pack abs, right? We know what we're supposed to do, but we are emotional beings, right? We don't make decisions that are logical. We don't make decisions that are even good for us sometimes. 12-pack. I got a one-pack. Okay, so, or I like to say I have a six-pack, but it's covered with a load of laundry, right? So you can't see it. Yeah, a keg. That's right. So, my point is, we don't always make emotional decisions. We make decisions based on this kind of stuff. When the frustration and the excitement about the new way overcome the anxiety and the habits that I have, then we shift. Right? Even you think of zombie apps or a health app or whatever. I may get excited about it and jump into it because I'm hating the old way and excited about the new way, but I'm a little anxious about the new way, but my habits kill me anyway. I stop it, I download it, I use it once, and then I never use it again. Right? So there's a lot of stuff that has to go into this, and understanding the emotional is how amazing products are built. So just keep that in mind as you're working through stuff. I'll give you some examples. First thing I would encourage you to do is I want you to start getting better at asking questions. The first thing I tell every entrepreneur I work with is go talk to your customers. Way too many entrepreneurs don't talk to their customers, and they build something nobody wants. They spend all this time and money building something, and they don't talk to their customers. But what I'm proposing, if you're already doing this, then here's some questions that you might want to ask. Is really start to understand what triggers them to start to search for something different. What are they doing instead that they're hiring you instead of hiring you? Like they're solving the problem that they have somehow. What are they doing instead of bringing on your solution? What do they want to avoid? Functionally, socially, emotionally, right? There's certain things that are going on that drive them nuts, but socially they feel like they're looking terrible. They feel inadequate or emotionally, get into their emotions of why they're making these decisions and understanding that. And then also, what do they want to get out of it, right? So if you can promote it from the why, right? The why of the functional, social, and emotional gains, that helps. But it's not the only thing. Sometimes it's avoiding pain more than it's being attracted by the new way, right? Like I said, that anxiety and habits are the things that'll kill it. Okay, so have any of you heard of this before, right? Why do people hire a drill? Why do people hire a drill? You can answer in the chat if you'd like. Right, that's the answer, John. And you know that. Mix paint. Yeah, that's right. I mix my peanut butter with a drill. How's that? I got a little mixer because you need stuff mixed that sharpen pencils. Wow, that's a overkill. But yeah, fixed stuff. That's the often one, right? Competitive. Let's not go there, David. Okay, but I need a drill. Okay, so I want to propose that you're not asking enough questions, right? Why do you need a drill? So the answer, as we saw, was one answer is a hole. Why do you need a drill? So if somebody walked into Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever and said, I need a drill, hopefully the person would ask, but let's say, and this is your job as the entrepreneur, to ask the question. Okay, great. Because everybody will come to you and say, I need an app that does this. Why? That's your question. Why? Keep getting good at asking why. Well, what do you need? You need a hole. Okay, why do you need a hole? Well, because I got to put in a plug. Sounds good. Why do you need a plug? Well, because I want to plug in a lamp right here by my, set. So I need a hole so I can put in a plug so I can add my lamp. Why do you need a lamp? So I can read at night. Oh, just go buy a Kindle. So you understand jobs to be done is JTBD, jobs to be done, JTBD. So I need a drill. That's what they were looking for. But when you start to ask questions, they want a hole, they want a plug, they want a lamp, they want to read at night. Really, what they need to do is they just need a Kindle. So you just completely put them into another category. It wasn't about the drill, it was about reading at night. And that's when you got an understanding. So I want to cover off one other case study. This is just going to be a short story, and there's a book for this, which is an amazing book. So somebody mentioned Donald Miller. Donald Miller's story brand is genius. It's awesome, great book, and a lot of books by Donald Miller are really good. So read them all. But and around the jobs to be done front, there's a couple of them, but my favorite one is by a guy named Bob Moesta. So Bob Moesta, and it's called Demand-Based Sales 101, I believe it is. Decision-based sales or demand-based sales. I always get it wrong, but I think it's demand-based sales. Demand-based sales 101. And in it, he talks about 3,500 products that he's actually kind of helped improve on the jobs to be done. He worked with Clayton Christensen, the video we saw earlier. He worked with Clayton Christensen and helped kind of formulate this jobs to be done framework. But in it, he tells a story about he was working with a company that was selling homes, and what they noticed is a lot of the people buying the homes were empty nesters, right? Like so, retirees, the kids had all moved out, they had way too much stuff and way too big of a home, and so he got good at interviewing, and this is where I want all y'all to get good at interviewing. Go and ask your clients more and more and more and more and more questions. And that book has a whole bunch of interview questions that are really, really good. So you can get to understand that. But the case study I'm trying to use here is the importance of asking questions. Because he would get in and he had these couples, retiree couples coming in and buying all these homes. And he was trying to figure out why. So he sat down with them and he started asking them questions. And he would ask them things like, so why'd you buy this house? Oh, we're downsizing. Okay. Did you have a real estate agent? Yeah, we have one. How do you know the real estate agent? A friend of the family. Okay. When did you call them? I don't know, it was in the spring sometime. It's called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Sorry. When did you call your real estate agent? I think springtime, before or after Valentine's Day. I think before, but I can't really remember. So you can see the vagueness in the answers. You're digging and you're searching around and trying to figure things out. And then he asked the really question. He says, "So when you called them, what were you wearing?" Weird question. When you called them, what were you wearing? And the answer was, "Oh, I was in a suit." And like, okay, tell me more. Oh yeah, well, so my wife and I just went to the funeral of our best friend Dave, and when we went to the funeral, on the way home, we were discussing how terrible it would be for our kids to have to empty our house without us being around. So we decided on the way home that we really need to downsize and start getting into a smaller house and downsizing before we die, so that the kids would be ready. And then, so when we walked in, the first thing we did is we picked up the phone on the thing and we called our real estate agent. We started the process and we bought this house. Bang! The trigger. The trigger. But here's the thing. So what did the entrepreneur do differently? Here's the power of those questions. The entrepreneur started posting their ads instead of in the real estate section, in the obituaries. So they started putting their ads in the obituaries because that's where all were going to read their friends' stuff. And what happened was they saved like 70% of their marketing spend, and they had a 40 times improvement in conversion rates because they were addressing their target market. But they would not have found that out if they didn't understand the job to be done. It wasn't about selling real estate. It was about downsizing in a specific time when the trigger happens. That's what we want to focus on, is you need to find out what those triggers are and when people start opening their mind to it. Like I always say, what are people slamming into the keyboard out of frustration? If whatever they're slamming into the keyboard in frustration, you better show up, right? It's not about, I'm looking for an app that does this. It's like, how do I friggin' solve this problem? And then you pop up and go, oh, that's an interesting alternative. And then they go through the push-pull, right? Is this way better? And why? What anxieties do I have? Do you address them? And how do you move them from status quo and get them to spark into it and try it? So this is how you start to really make a difference in all of that. Okay, really, I've only got a couple of slides left and I'll open it up for some questions, but this is a takeaway that you can work on. So you should be able to write this down, and those underlying ones, the trigger to motivation and the desired outcome, is for you. So customize this, and if you'd like to attempt it and try it and explain it to me, we can, as a little group, discuss it a little bit more. So, but when my customer has this thing pop up in their head and they want to have some kind of a trigger moment that moves them, or sorry, the thing that they're trying to do, so that they can have a desired outcome. So when my customer goes to get revenge with his dad in Star Wars, and they want to go and learn how to fight with a lightsaber, they can come because they want to win their, the approval of their father. Making this stuff up on the fly. Well, because the last question on that, by the way, Alan, the last question on what do you need a lamp for? And the lamp was so they could read at night. And so, because they wanted to read at night, just go get a Kindle, right? So that's why you're kind of, and I just used as an example. You can pick anything, but if they're wanting to read at night, you're understanding their what they're trying to do well enough that you're basically giving them a suggestion, right? So, yeah, right. Not the wrinkles and the gray hair. Okay, so this is what I want you to think about, right? You the provider. You are the solution provider. The customer is the one needing the problem. So think about it this way. I just want you to remember this. You're not the hero in the story. The customer is. So you are just providing them a solution to make sure that they can get their job done. Think about it that way, and then I'll turn it over to you guys for questions. I will say this. That thing on the side, Founders Academy. So the work I do is I work with earlier stage entrepreneurs that are getting their foundation right and really trying to launch into something great so they can get into accelerators better, they can get funding better, they can get that. And we have a whole team and a whole process that we work with, and that's a little bit of a landing page that will help you understand what it is that we're doing and what we're trying to help with. And then that's my information there. You can email me there. I actually have a calendar invite there. I can give the deck out to everybody, but I want to turn it over to any questions or thoughts that you might have. And I will say that unfortunately I have to cut it pretty much right on time. I have another webinar that I'm doing for Founders Academy right at the top of the hour, but and I don't need any prep for it, but I will need to jump off. So please, any questions or thoughts, anything like that?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Colin, for breaking this topic down in such a practical and relatable way. I think it was amazing and, like I said, very relatable. You made the presentation very fun, and I think you made it very easy to understand. So thank you so much for that. If anyone has any questions, now is your time to go in the Q&A feature to ask those questions. If you want to put them in the chat too, that is totally fine. We still have a few minutes left for today's session. So let's see if those questions come in. And
Yeah.
yes, the session is being recorded, and the recording will be shared with everyone who registered for today's session via email, and it will be made public on our YouTube channel afterwards.
And Linda, if you want to ping me and just remind me for the deck, I'll make it into a PDF and send it to you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Colin, for that.
Can you talk a little bit more if the problem is less of a pain point and more of a prestige point? Yes, but even if it's prestige or an optimization, like an efficiency thing or things like that, you need to understand it's not about the features, right? It's about the outcome. So what are they trying to do? If you want to look better, nobody in their right mind, in my opinion, spends a bunch of money on a Gucci bag. And again, maybe that's just dating me, but sure, people do it and they do it all the time. There's no need for me to buy a Lamborghini, right? It sucks in the snow. And I have a friend that drives one in the snow because it's a four-wheel drive. But still, like, there's no real need for that. It's a prestige thing. So you're still solving. And if you think about it, it's not the functional. I can get any car. But if it's social and emotional, it's how do I look to others and how do I feel about myself? So those are the two most important elements. So it's not about prestige. I'll give you another statement on the optimization thing, Daryl. Think about it this way. What's the statement? Nobody gets fired for hiring IBM, right? That's a weird statement, right? Why? Because to their boss says, "Great work. You got the job done. It was 3 times the cost, but you got the job done. Good work, buddy." Right now you get the recognition and the prestige, but you created optimization by hiring the best company so that you didn't get screwed over, right? And emotionally, I feel good and I feel confident I kept my job. So sometimes it's not, often, and most often, it's not about the function. It's about the social and emotional aspects. That's where prestige, that's where optimization, that's where efficiency. I'm trying to get this done and it's driving me friggin' nuts. It takes me forever. I'd rather just pay somebody to do it or pay an app to do it or whatever. So that's where we need to look at it is we need to look at it from the social and emotional aspects much more than just the functional one. And that's why I don't give me feature sets. Does it do what I need it to do? So going back to Tash for a second, Tash is a brilliant B2B salesperson. Most people would argue that B2B takes forever to sell because you've got to talk to all these people and you got to convince all these people and you got to go through the whole. No, if you do a good job in the first meeting by understanding the outcome, you'll often bypass everything because the internal person will go head over heels to try to get that solution done because you understood the problem, not the feature set, not the pricing, but the outcome that they're looking for socially and emotionally. I need to get this done. I'm going to get fired if I don't get it done. I will just do whatever you tell me to do if I trust you.
Mhm.
Uh, Yeah, so compliance is often people make decisions, just so you know, to save money, uh, you know, uh, make money, or create efficiencies. But the other one that nobody talks about, stay out of jail, right? So compliance is one of those, right? So that's where you want to kind of focus on. It is how do you approach it when they don't even know they have a problem? Yes. So one way I would do it. Actually, I'll give you a little example about this, and I'm just watching the time, but I'll give you a good example. There's a thing called educational marketing, uh, and that's where you're kind of illustrating and educating a little bit on the fly. And I'm going to give you an example of that. But imagine it this way, because part of it is you need to retain their attention long enough. But imagine you walked into a stadium of 60,000 people, and you can stand in the middle of that stadium, and the rule is you can say whatever you want to say to sell your product. But the moment you start speaking, anybody can leave. So right out of the gate, probably 90% of the people would leave no matter what you did. They didn't even like the look of you. They're going to walk out. But if you can get better at educating them quickly, they're going to be excited. If I said, "Hey, I'm a car salesman. I'd love to talk to you more about this," everybody leaves, right? I'm not saying
Mhm.
anything wrong with car salesmen, but the 97% that don't care about car sales right now are going to leave. But let's turn it on its head. And there was a guy that did this in the old telemarketing days, but I want to use it because it's a great illustration. They were selling carpet cleaning. And when they sold carpet cleaning as just carpet cleaning, nobody was buying it. It was hard to get connection. But they said, "Listen, I don't know if you knew this." And this is the quote of the script. "I don't know if you knew this, but carpets are actually better for your health according to Health Canada or whatever, than plain hardwood floors. And the reason is because it kind of acts like a car filter, right? It attracts and holds all the dust and the hair and the things like that, so that it's not floating through the air and going into your nose. So, but like any car filter, it takes a while and it fills up. So you really should clean it every 3 months. When's the last time you cleaned your carpets? Right? And I don't know about all you guys, but when I heard that, I'm like, geez, yeah, geez, when is the last time? I should probably get my carpets cleaned. That's educational. So to answer that question, if they don't know they have the problem, how can you create a script or an illustration or something that shows that they need a problem? And or where can you be when they start at the low-hanging fruit is where can you be or show up so that when they realize they have a problem, it hits them square in the face that you're the solution. So those are the things there. Yes. all the time, Rebecca. Please don't feel any down about that. That happens everybody all the time. I see it all the time. And this is why I said right in the beginning, if you can articulate the functional, social, and emotional stuff, you're better than 90% of your competitors right out of the gate. So, because it's not about the features, it's about the outcome. And so you need to change that. And it takes a little bit of time to shift about this. But the reason I use jobs to be done is because it's a fairly it's easy to search for it. Look up JTBD, and there's tons and tons of stuff on the internet that you can find. So that's
So
it.
we
Any
have
other
a
questions?
question
Yeah.
from Ian.
Yeah.
It says, do you believe these fundamentals are the same when you're selling yourself, I believe, as a service and not a thing or widget?
Yep.
Does anything
Yeah.
change?
So what's the service? I mean, let's say it's carpet cleaning, right? It's not about, I know that I need my carpets cleaned, but I'll get to it, right? But
Mhm.
when you start to understand the problem, what is it? It's actually about health. Is my family healthy? And am I keeping my family healthy? I want to look like a good parent. I want to look like a good homeowner. That's the social and emotional, right? I want to feel good about myself that I'm in a healthy environment. So, oh, I need carpet cleaning, right?
Mhm.
So the service was carpet cleaning, but it's not about the thing of carpet cleaning because left to my own devices, I'm going to be fat and be broke, right? Instead of the millionaire with six-pack abs. So I need to have education and that service coming in a social and emotional thing, you know, does this service make my butt look fat? Or whatever, right? Right. So that right? We want to make sure that we're actually addressing it from that side. So even as a management consultant, like the problem with consultants, and I'm not going off on a diatribe on you, Ian, but the problem with consultants is you have every solution available to you. You can go in and I can fix anything. Yeah, but pick an angle, right? It might be like, and really get in to what is a very clear problem that they're feeling, not functionally, but socially and emotionally, right? Are you losing customers? Like even what I said in the beginning, who's here fundraising, right? Who's wanting better and more clients? That's the first question I asked. It didn't have anything to how what I was going to answer. I mean, it did obviously, but my point is, like, are you losing customers? Come and see us. We'll get that solved as a management consultant, right? Or, my team, I just keep losing people. I was a recruiter and have built high performing teams for years. So that's my kind of specialty, right? But are you losing people as fast as you get them? Can you not attract good people? Are you having trouble, getting your team functioning better together, right? And again, depending on who's listening, they might respond in different ways. But it's like we have a solution. It wasn't about that it's you or the right thing, but it's about the problem that they're trying to solve.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so that's a good example. Thank you. Actually, I should have done that a while ago, Linda. But
No. Oh,
thank you.
oh,
And again, my email and everything was there if you want to reach out and ask questions or whatever, set up a time with me. I'm kind of available to do that. I'm a big fan of Business Link and a big fan of helping out early stage entrepreneurs. So anything I can do, thanks.
thank you, Colin. We do really appreciate it. We'll give you some time back on your day so you can jump in your next webinar. But this brings us to today's session to a close. So thank you so much, Colin, once again. And thank you to everyone who joined us. We know that your time is very valuable, and we do appreciate you choosing to spend it learning with us. So if today's conversation got you thinking about your next move, you can always book a free one-on-one session with a business strategist at businesslink.ca/book a meeting, or simply by scanning the QR code on screen. We will be following up via email with the recording and all of the resources mentioned during the session. And before you go, please make sure that you take a moment to complete the very short feedback survey so that we can continue to improve all of our webinar and events programming. Remember that we're here to help you start, grow, and move forward with confidence. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.